All right, I am. Oh, wait a minute. No, now I'm live. Oh boy, this is going to be a little bit tough. Internet access is incredibly low in the garage. So it's going to be potato quality. Probably going to be cut off here and there. I guess. At this time of night, normally, well, would rather do it outside, but it's raining outside. And you know what? I care about my laptop anyway. So I figure garage time. It seemed appropriate. Because it's dry in here. Some booze, because you know what? After interesting week, it's just good to chill out. And talk about stuff now. That's a mouse on a car does not actually work. I've just discovered that now. I would need a mouse pad, and I decided not to bring one. And yeah. Let's see. Twitter. Oh. Yeah, I'm actually considering the low level of Wi-Fi, or like the Wi-Fi connectivity in this garage is apparently shit. Even though with my ordinary phone, not an issue. Apparently with laptop, issue. So, just gonna make that simple. All right. All right, what do I want to talk about? Let's talk about modern technology and how, regardless of how much we might fix something, eventually it's going to get to the point where so worn out that it's just not worth your time, your money, and someone else's interest to help fix it, or your own. Let's say, for example, something that you never really think about in terms of quality, but then again, there's the cost of things determines the outcome of how long it might maybe last. So let's talk about wristwatches, for example. You probably buy a really, really expensive wristwatch, so several $100s, couple grand. You better hope that thing will last you a lifetime. So the initials, probably gear sets of it you can easily replace on the go. Okay. I buy like $20 wristwatches back in the day before I realized the aluminum composition that they use in their housings reacted badly with my skin. But like a dumbass, you just keep wearing something for 10 years, it only dawns on you, maybe you shouldn't wear this anymore. But case in point, $20 wristwatch will last me 1 year. Actually, might actually be quite long for such a little bit of technology, so to speak. But it must be cheap enough that it will not last that long. Even if you were to put money into it, no one's going to put the effort. And every single time I take any of those watches to a jeweler, they're like, nah, we're not doing anything for this. Or, everything is so worn out of spec that there would be no point in doing anything for it. So, yeah, you get what you pay for. I can understand that. Eventually, even some of the more expensive stuff starts to break down. Eventually, the more you use it, Yeah, it's going to wear down. Yeah, you shouldn't put 10W30. Actually, no, it's 20. Wait, no, that's 10W20. Shit, I don't know much about oil. I know enough about oil, at least the snake oil part of things about oil. The grades of oil, I could probably brush up on. Oh no, that's 5W30. So that's 5W20 is in a lot of newer cars. 5W30, I believe, is a little bit more thicker. And, 5W20, I believe, is just a little bit thinner. Maybe. Don't count me on that. Don't hold me to that. But with wristwatches, eventually stuff will wear out. Even if you buy the best stuff, eventually things will just get out of hand where eventually you'll throw the thing out. Yeah, you spend a lot of money on it, but it's like owning a Mercedes-Benz car. Now you buy a Chevy, you might get, in this case, you're getting paid to get pissed off, but your products might actually be good. Chevy from 40 years ago, any Chevy from 40 years ago, it's a better car than they're making today, only for the fact that given the technology that they had, their car is a lot more simpler. If something did break, didn't take much to fix. And at that point, it was computer command control, which was one module. Beyond that, there wasn't much controlling the engine, actually. I actually don't know if it was the Vega or the Chevette that had begun the whole craze to computer command control for GM, but early 70s, mid 70s is when that started to become a thing. Definitely by 76, the Chevette already had it from year one. So even a Mercedes-Benz will eventually wear out to the point where you can't do much about it without having whole overhauls mechanically and whatnot, and then with age electrically, because it just eventually just breaks down. With the majority of the components used in cars these days being plastic. Yeah, plastic can last quite a long time, but after a while, plastic has natural decay eventually. It just gets, sunlight, UV rays, just age, temperature differences, spiking or dropping. Oh, look at that, someone's home. And, plastic eventually decays. It's going to happen. Cars from 30, 40 years ago, 25 years ago, while a good majority of the material content of a car is plastic, a lot of it's still metal at that time. Further back you go, the less plastic you'll see on a car. That's to be expected. While 60s plastics were god-awful, I look at some parts of my Skylark, and the steering wheel, the lower rear armrests are the only bits of plastic on the interior car that didn't stand the test of time. Beyond that, whatever other types of plastics they used worked just fine. But there's decay in everything. Plastic, the more plastic you have, the worse off you are. Rubber, yeah, rubber decays. However, rubber hoses, rubber plugs, you could find similar diameters, lengths, such to replace that kind of stuff. Kind of universal parts. That's what's going to make things run for a long time. Is if you can make something somewhat universal that even if it's no longer made specifically part number wise, then yeah, you could potentially keep things going for a time. But if it's going to be part number specific and only made by you, tough luck getting that stuff 20, 30, 40 years down the road, unless you own a collector car or a vehicle worthwhile keeping that many others think the same. And then there's going to be parts chain supply support willing to not only keep the old stock parts, but also produce new stuff as well. For a majority of the cars these days, I'm going to say 95% of them won't. In 14 years' time, will be supporting any of these vehicles. Because they expect in 10 years' time, a lot of these vehicles to literally bite the dust. We've gone from wristwatches to cars. So, all right, plastics. That's a big key component to keep cars light, but in the same aspect that all that stuff's going to break down, and a lot of your components that you want to keep a car running, you notice intake manifolds for a lot of manufacturers now are plastic. Heat cycles will destroy that eventually. If in 10 years' time, probably 15. And at that point, you'll need a new intake manifold. I just don't see how they're supposed to last longer than then. 20 years, but at that point, you're not driving the car too much. All right, so appliances. The same thing can be applied. The more plastic you got, I think the worse it's going to be, unless it's garnishing. Say, for example, washing machines. It's an interesting stream. Washing machines. When you really think about it, the internal chassis of a washing machine from one company won't change for 20 years. The control module, the other bits of technology for the spin cycle and settings and whatnot, and the exterior casing is going to change. For the most part, the internal chassis and more mechanical bits are probably going to stay the same for decades before and probably decades after, because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're not designing a new car chassis every 4 or 5 years. You're just making a business. Yeah, you want to spruce up the exterior maybe every 6, 8 years to something that's different to entice people to buy a new thing, which you have a good functional washing machine, dryer. It's 30 years old. Yeah, that'd be the most efficient thing. But if it works, just learn how to better use it, and you'll save money by not needing to buy a new one. But let's say, for example, new washing machine. But a few years ago, we had the impeller break. It's the thing that, drains out the water from the drum into your sink, drain hole, whatever, in your laundry room. And that eventually wears out because that's the only really mechanical part of the whole system that takes a beating after a while. And this machine we've had since 1998 or 1999. Actually, no. 18 years. So about 2000, 2001 or something like that. Well, that would be 20 years ago. Okay, so really, within 20 years, we've had this machine. Finally breaks. And we were worried that we wouldn't get parts for it. But it turns out, actually, there's lots of parts that we could still get for this washing machine. The beauty about some appliances is that they're so simple, they're so mundane, they make so many of them. And in most cases, the internal designs don't change so much so that you can get parts for an 18-year-old washing machine because they're making the same part for their washing machines today. It's just genius how they make that all work. Some appliances you are able to keep going for a long time, but we're living in the disposable age, as I like to think of it. They say things were disposable back in the day, and to be honest, they were engineered to be maintained as well. Nowadays, you're looking at stuff that is just literally meant to be thrown away, which is, I can understand why you want to maybe have the newer best thing that might be better for you, but they may engineer faults in it that you're still going to be wanting to pay money out the nose to fix. I don't know. Frankly, you're better off keeping what you do have, maintain it as long as you can until it totally craps out on you where it's just not worth fixing it. When you can't find the parts, or by that point, it costs you so much money that buying a new machine, um, it's just, we live in a very disposable society, at least in North America, it seems. More and more people go through so much stuff lately that it just seems disposable, and that's kind of a shame because there are actually resourceful people out there. Normally, those not well-to-do are the ones who are going to still be repairing stuff over and over and over again because you know what, in the long term, the immediate cost is what they're looking at. Not the long-term cost, but the immediate cost. People living in not so good economic situations aren't going to bat an eye by spending $8,000 on a 96 Corolla. But over the course of like 8, 10, 12 years, exaggerating on the cost, but let's just say this person literally replaces everything on this car to the point that everything but the frame or the chassis or the unibody on the car, original, that everything else had been changed at one point or another, and then turns out to be an entirely different car. You know what? They're not thinking about the long term. They're thinking about short term. What's going to be cheaper than buying a new car or a newer used car? It costs $1,500 to get a transmission put into a Corolla. But you need $5,000 to buy a good used car with your eyes closed and comfortably say you did okay. You could do that with a car for $2,000, but you start missing things that you're going to really ask why the hell I bought it. So the less well-to-do are going to be the ones the most resourceful in society. It's just a fact of life. I've been down that path. But you got to do what you got to do. Cars got to work. You gotta head over to school. You gotta head to work. Cars got to work. You got to fix car. Oh, washing machine broke down. The impellers broke. You can call a service tech, but you got to take time off work. You have to use days off for that. Or you may lose money because you're not working that day because you don't get paid. You may not actually have time off to do that. You may not have the money to pay the service guy to actually look at it before he can give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost to replace and repair. And any other sort of thing that he looks around that he's going to start charging you. When you just go through one part at a time, you just go here and there, then I think you're just going to do just fine. If you just did things yourself. You know what to fix. It doesn't take much to figure out how something comes together. You don't have to understand how it works. But if you can understand how it goes together, anything can assemble anything. Some people don't know how an engine works, but if you show them how certain bits go together, they may not know how it works. They may get the understanding of how it works, but if you tell them how to put something together, they'll know how to put it together. And then knowing how it works is just half the fun of it. So, yeah, we just live in a disposable society. It's kind of garbage, but then again, we produce garbage. We produce garbage and we design garbage to be garbage in little time. I mean, look at Chrysler products they rust around in these parts within 2-3 years. And then after that, you look like you have a 10-year-old jalopy. And some of the 25-year-old cars around here don't look that bad. Just as companies are getting cheap. They don't want to spend much money on their products, but they want the most profit out of it. So there we go. Companies making as much profit by scamming you on quality. Then they scam you on repairs because now with their lack of quality, now you're paying out the nose for it. And it's only a matter of time that Honda had senioritis about a decade ago. Toyota had its senioritis 20 years ago. Hyundai and Kia, while they're still pretty solid, they've had engine fires in the last 2-3 years with certain models of cars, mostly like the 2.0 liter SUV or CUV models, but they got known problems to be, fire starters. So everyone's got a senioritis moment, and it kind of destroys their brand. I don't know about loyalty, but their brand perception of, oh yeah, they make good cars. They make pretty solid and no nonsense. And eventually that all dies eventually for a car manufacturer. It's all about how you take care of the issue during the fact. If you own up to your mistake, which many manufacturers don't. If you're willing to fix the issue immediately, which not many manufacturers don't, I don't know. It's just they would rather save face by not knowing what's going on and say it's only few select vehicles. Oh, crunchy. And then say it doesn't affect everyone, but everything is on a production where if it's one vehicle that's bad, more likely many more are. And they're too bashful to think about the possibility that they have to contact lots of people to get their vehicles checked. But then again, that's with most manufacturers these days. It's kind of standard, kind of typical. Frankly, not worth losing your faith over manufacturer. Unless you're going to lengths of stupid that should not have been done, but, ended up happening anyway, while manufacturers know, the rear swing axles on Corvairs, they knew they should have gone a fully independent rear suspension instead of swing axle. They knew that it was an issue, and they just greenlit it into production. Yeah, Ford knew that Pinto was a tinderbox if struck in the right spot, which technically was everywhere in the rear. A fire can happen in the back of a Pinto. Enough friction against metal on metal could cause a spark. And as you all know, gasoline only needs a vapor and a spark to really ignite a fire. As we all know, gasoline engines run on ignition. Throw a lit match into a drum of diesel and it won't do anything because diesel needs compression. You can do it all day. Sure, it burns a little bit and then goes out. Diesel's compression. I don't know, it's just the complacency of manufacturers eventually. They get high on their own hubris that they can't do nothing wrong. And when they do see something wrong, they say, nah, you know what, it'll be fine. We could take a risk. And who knows, by the time this is all done and it does happen, we say we didn't know. But immediately things start to show up as, oh, yeah, this is happening right now. Corvair's taking a tumble at higher speeds on 90-degree turns in either direction, mostly on one side because, of course, the driver has weight, which offsets the weight of the car on the left side. So actually, I believe for the Corvair, it was right-hand turns was happened to be the killer turn for the Corvair, which by 62 or 63, they ended up once to fully independent axle for the rear end. And then I think in 77 or 78, Ford decided to, I don't know if they put deflector plates on the tanks at the factory for new vehicles, and for any vehicle that came in for the recall, could have them installed at a cost of like $5 in 1970s money, which I don't know, don't take my word for it, comes out to be like 10, 15 bucks, maybe 25 bucks, 40 bucks. When you really think about it, it's not that much money. These fixes could have happened immediately, and manufacturers decide not to do squat. So be aware of what you buy, because it may end up killing you. A blender could explode in your face. And a blender company is going to say, well, we knew this was going to happen, but, you know, John Smith, you know, took a bullet for us just to understand that, but we could have fixed it. But we didn't. I was figuring it wouldn't happen in the real world, but it did. Yeah. Oh. Let's see, let's see if anyone actually nibbled on Twitter. They have. I guess. Oh, look at that. We got 2 people now. It's still recording on only 1 bar of Wi-Fi connectivity. Dueling streams, I guess. We have swords now. We just have to, like, stab each other. I don't do streams all that often. I probably should, because they are kind of interesting, because they go in fun directions. But yeah. What you're going to stream about? I'm kind of like a Seinfeld show. I just kind of stream about nothing, and I just kind of go along with it. Wow, I don't even have Wi-Fi on my phone. Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm surprised the laptop is working, but I'm going to the river. Ah, what's happening at the river? A lot of weird stuff down by the river. Oh, dude. A lot of weird stuff just washes up on the shores of rivers. Just gets really, really weird. A lot of crocs. And I'm not talking about alligators, just, you know, random Just random Crocs. You have to wonder, someone used to own those Crocs. So they disappeared into the ether of the water. That or a lot of condoms. I don't know. There are a lot of horny people out in the world that just end up doing it in the most weirdest playgrounds, riversides, apparently city parks. Yeah, just weird stuff that you find. Oh, Barbie dolls. Apparently, Barbie dolls are quite popular thing to find on beaches, riverfronts, whatnot. Don't know where they're coming from. They just show up. They float. Just weird stuff. Weird stuff is interesting. Then there's a really awful sort of weird that you don't really want to like look for stuff. Just kind of like wish you didn't get involved. Sometimes homeless people that fish. It happens. But I do have to make a mention. I don't know if it's just Milwaukee or Milwaukee County. It could be happening all over the place. But I've noticed a ton of homeless people, not in just the last year, but I was in the last 2, 3, 4 years. I've never thought there was that many homeless people in my area. While I live around the kind of the more greater Milwaukee area, it's weird to actually see this many homeless people. I mean, I've seen them in Chicago. While I kind of expected there's nearly the whole population of Wisconsin in that city alone. So I could expect a ton of homeless people all over the place. Whether if they're homeless or not, it's just incredible just to see this number of people just literally standing at the street side. Some of them are actually legitimately homeless. Some of them actually change their clothes every day, and I know that they're not. It's kind of sad, but ugh. Let's see what else is on the internet right now. Oh, that's adorable. Hello.
Can I throw some trash?
Sure. Actually, this would be a good time to do that. I'm doing a stream and kind of feeling about that. You know what? Just, you sure that's recycling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is pretty incredible. Oh. Did that boy just lock me in here? I got a key anyway. What on earth is that? Oh, everyone's on VR chat. I wish I had technology like that, but I'm actually too damn lazy to really kind of do any of that. Cats for run what? On. Okay, that's actually adorable. I think I might maybe stream for probably another 10 minutes. So kind of odd hour, odd time. Just to kind of do something. Or I could sleep. Sleep could be pretty valuable. Let's see what else is going on here. A local car club and car show that I'd love to go, but I can't because I work on that day. Kind of sad. Car lights. Nice. Oh, wow, I got 2 bars of Wi-Fi now. All right, well, that sounds quite nice. Oh, my goodness. That's a metal fender. That's right, I can't use mouse because it's on a car, and a car's surface actually confuses a mouse more than it needs to. You know what, 40 minutes. Seems a good amount of time. Yeah, just recovering from second dose of vaccine. Doing all right. Bad flu symptoms last night. Feeling normal now, and I hope it's just not, first wind and then it snaps back again for a second time. Because they say it either hits you immediately or it waits a day before it. And it's now been more than a full day. And actually, it's been 2 days. I think at this point, if I'm not getting anything else, I think this is pretty much it, which for COVID symptoms, I got it good. Not much actually happened. But Friday night was rough. Just aches, slight headache, and felt the chills. Slept for about 7 hours and it was all gone. Started the day a bit achy by around lunchtime, which in this case was around 7 o'clock in the morning, because that's how my day goes. Wasn't so bad. In fact, the first dose made me more sore for 4 days than it has right now. Like, I'm only tender where they injected me. Beyond that, an entire arm being sore, I wouldn't say fully sore. My armpit, actually, no, not even my armpit sore. I don't know. It might hit people differently. Probably. Yeah. It's a stream. Would be fun to do these a little bit more often. Except at a more better time and not, 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And get other people on. Anyway, actually, yeah, it's about a good time to probably. Oh, look at that! There's 3 people on. Almost just when I'm about to kill it. Hello. Oh, and one of them left anyway. Actually, I really wonder if it's 2 people, if it's just me and one other person. Or it's just counting me. That I actually don't know. I do not know if that just means I have an audience or it's only going to count the stream, who's in the stream, and who's actually streaming. I do not know YouTube. I just use it like everyone else. Anyway, it's probably a good time. You know what? I think it's time to crash. I was hoping to do more than an hour, but oh God. Bus driving early first shift is not often fun, just because normally you don't sleep that much anyway, so you're agitated, get passengers yell at you and whatnot, and oh yeah, like today where I misspoke on the radio about, passenger fare and whatnot, about an individual bringing a additional person on due to certain bus fare types that you are allowed to actually have, PCA means free bus fare and whatnot. And apparently this person got butthurt over the fact that I called them a PCA, which I didn't know. No one says anything, so I'm only going to assume PCA. Then the lady who's got the card's like, oh, no, she ain't my PCA. And then the person who I thought was her PCA, oh, I'm not her PCA. I'm her friend, but not a PCA. No. And then, this whole time I have my 2-way radio on the whole time, and dispatch is like, what the hell is going on here? Someone, did you spit on someone, or did they spit on you? What's going on? Like, I only asked you could put a PCA on for this one person. And it turned into a total bitch fest. I'm so glad I didn't have bad flu symptoms, because that would suck. That just kind of sit there in the seat and listen to 2 people bitch at you for, really what is considered to be a very silly but understandable reason what's going on. So you're really going to assume, because most enough when they get on the bus with someone else with a card, yeah, you're going to assume that they're their PCA, personal care attendant, or personal care assistant, either or. And this person got totally butthurt by that. And it actually didn't matter anyway. She didn't qualify for that, so she was good enough to pay. Oh my God, people are silly. Yeah, actually, yeah, sleep sounds good. So you know what? We'll catch you next time. Definitely would rather prefer to do it outside, but with an extension cord running, because surprised my laptop can last nearly 3 hours on a charge, or really 2.5. So late at night in a garage, impromptu, just do something before I sleep, and then start thinking about fixing taxes and uh, playing around with the 401k. So yeah, gonna be fun. So anyway, catch you guys another time. Nerd out later. So have a good one.